What do you respond to people that say that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer and inequality and all that?
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, some of the rich are getting richer. Not all the rich. I mean, some of the rich are getting poorer. It depends on how they make their money. But, yes, there are rich people who are getting richer and poor people who are getting poorer. But that's not because of capitalism. See, that's my beef with Michael Moore. It's government central planning, central banking. It's fascism, statism, corporatism, crony capitalism, however you want to define it. These are the things that are responsible for that growing dichotomy. And so if we try to correct the problem with even more government, we're just going to exacerbate the problem. So if we really want to lift all boats, if we really want to improve the living standards of the poor and the middle class, the best way to do that is for government to get out of the way, for the government to stop, to allow market forces to operate unfettered and to get rid of all these subsidies for Wall Street and all the cheap money and the banking sector and everything that they are doing that is basically responsible for this big shift of wealth towards a few people at the top. This is not some natural consequence of capitalism. Yes, under capitalism, the rich will get richer, but so will the poor. So will the middle class. In fact, the biggest beneficiaries of capitalism are the poor. They're the ones that have the most to gain. If you go back in time, the rich have always had a pretty good life. Certainly relative to poor people. But, back in the olden days, if you were rich, you can always have music in your house because you can hire musicians to come and play for you. The poor people couldn't do that. But as capitalism produced the phonograph, the poorest people now can enjoy the equivalent of an orchestra in their own house now with an iPod. That's a function of capitalism. Capitalism is what brought music to the masses. It used to just be enjoyed, by kings and people who could really afford to pay these musicians to come to their house and play for them. And you can look at all these things. The rich never had, the super rich, they had workers that could do their dishes and that can do their laundry. So they didn't have to do it by themselves. But when we have dishwashers and washer dryers, it's the poor people who benefit the most from not having to do those jobs because the super rich never had to do them because they paid people to do it. So the big increase in living standards from capitalism flows most disproportionately to the poor. In fact, that's what abolishes poverty, is the wealth that's created by capitalism. So we have to go back towards that model and move away from what we have today, which unfortunately gives capitalism a bad name.